Have you ever caught a man staring at you just a second too long, or noticed him go quiet in a way that feels heavy, like he's holding something back, something big, but he's not saying a word? You can feel it, can't you? That electric undercurrent, that unspoken something hanging in the air. He might not confess what's on his mind, might even try to play it cool, but here's the truth: his actions, those tiny, almost invisible psychological habits, betray him every single time. When a man is head over heels for you, when he's lying awake at 2 a.m. replaying your last conversation, when his friends roll their eyes because your name keeps slipping into every story, when his phone lights up and his heart skips a beat hoping it's you, he's not always going to come right out and say, "I'm falling hard for you." Instead, he does these subtle, instinctive things that scream his feelings louder than words ever could. These aren't calculated moves or slick pickup artist tricks. They're raw, unconscious signals, little psychological patterns men fall into when they're utterly captivated by a woman. And here's the best part: once you know what to look for, you'll never again lie awake wondering, does he really feel something for me? Or am I just reading too much into this? Those nagging doubts, they'll start to fade. You'll see the signs for what they are: undeniable proof that you're on his mind, maybe even in his heart. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on 6 of these psychological tricks men use when they're absolutely crazy about you. These are the little giveaways, the quiet gestures, the unconscious habits that reveal just how much you mean to him, whether he's ready to admit it or not. Some of these signs are so subtle you might have overlooked them 100 times. Others, they're so blatant that once I point them out, you'll laugh out loud and think, "Oh my gosh, he does do that!" You'll start connecting the dots, replaying moments in your mind, and seeing his behavior in a whole new light. Here's my promise to you: by the time we're done, you'll walk away feeling more confident, more grounded, and more secure in your ability to read a man's true intentions. You'll know how to spot the difference between fleeting attraction and the kind of deep, can't stop thinking about you obsession that means something real. Because surface level attraction, that fades fast. But when a man is truly crazy about you, when you've got him hooked in that deep, unshakable way, he can't hide it. His heart will spill the truth through these 6 unmistakable signs. So lean in, pay close attention, and get ready to see the men in your life a little differently. Whether it's a new crush, a long-time partner, or that guy you're not quite sure about yet, these psychological tricks will show you exactly where his heart lies. Let's dive in. When a man is crazy about you, the very first thing you'll notice, if you're paying close attention, is how his attention seems to gravitate towards you no matter what's going on around him. It's like he has this invisible radar that locks in on you the second you're in the same space. Now, he may not even realize he's doing it, but psychologically, when men are deeply interested in a woman, their focus becomes selective. The human brain is what scientists call the reticular activating system. Basically, it filters what's important and what's not. And guess what? When he's crazy about you, you suddenly become the most important thing in the room. Think about the last time you were at a gathering, maybe with friends or coworkers. There are conversations happening, glasses clinking, people laughing across the room. But if the man who likes you is there, even if he's mid-conversation with someone else, you'll catch his eyes drifting toward you. Maybe it's just for a second. Maybe he quickly looks away as if nothing happened, but that split-second glance speaks volumes. His brain is literally wired to keep track of where you are, what you're doing, and whether you're smiling, laughing, or looking his way. And it doesn't stop at just looking. His attention shows up in how he listens. Have you ever said something small, something you didn't even think was important, like your favorite snack, or the fact that you hate when people mispronounce your name, and then weeks later he remembers it? That's not an accident, that's focus. When men are deeply attracted, engage in what psychologists call selective memory bias, they hold on to details about the person they're most emotionally invested in. So while he may forget half the things on his to-do list, he somehow remembers that you like your coffee with oat milk and 2 sugars. Now, here's the key difference between a man who's casually attracted and a man who's crazy about you. The casually attracted guy will notice the obvious things, like how you look that day, or maybe that you changed your hairstyle. But the man who's truly invested, he notices the things no one else would pick up on. He'll catch the way your mood shifts ever so slightly, or how your voice softens when you talk about something you love. He'll know when you're a little quieter than usual, even if you're smiling, And here's something fascinating. Sometimes he'll even compete for your attention without realizing it. You'll notice him trying to insert himself into conversations you're having, making a comment loud enough for you to hear, or laughing a little too enthusiastically at a joke when you're nearby. That's not just coincidence, that's psychology at work. It's called social mirroring, where he subconsciously tries to make himself more visible to you because he wants you to notice him the way he notices you. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about obsessiveness or unhealthy fixation. This is about a man whose attraction has gone beyond surface level. It's not just about your looks, it's about the way your presence changes his entire environment. And that's what makes it so powerful. I remember a woman once told me a story. She said she was out at a dinner party and there was this guy she wasn't even sure was into her. But she noticed that no matter where she moved in the room, he always seemed to be nearby. Not in a creepy way, just present. When she laughed, his head turned. When she stood up, his eyes followed instinctively. At one point, she dropped a napkin, and before she even realized it, he had leaned over and picked it up for her. Tiny, simple gestures, but they all added up to one truth. This man was locked in on her, and everything else had faded into the background. So if you ever find yourself wondering, does he really like me? Pay less attention to what he says and more attention to what he notices. Because when a man is crazy about you, he can't not notice. His focus will find you again and again, even in a crowded room. And that kind of attention isn't random. It's one of the strongest unconscious signals that his feelings for you run deep. Another little psychological trick that men unconsciously use when they're crazy about you is something I like to call micro investments. Now, that sounds like a stock market term, right? But here's what it means in relationships. When a guy is deeply interested, he starts putting small but consistent pieces of energy into you. Not grand gestures, not big movie style confessions, but little things that build a pattern. And here's the secret: you can spot these tiny actions long before he's even worked up the courage to say how he feels. Think about it like this. If you mention you've had a long day and suddenly he's sending you a funny meme just to make you smile, that's a micro investment. If you casually say you've been craving a certain food and 2 days later he just happens to suggest going to that restaurant, that's another one. When men are emotionally invested, they begin to look for ways to contribute to your life. Even in the smallest ways, it's their way of saying, I'm paying attention. You matter. And here's where psychology comes in. There's something called the sunk cost effect. In economics, it means the more someone invests in something, the harder it is for them to walk away from it. The same thing applies to attraction. When a man starts investing little pieces of himself, his time, his effort, his thoughtfulness, he becomes more attached to you without even realizing it. That's why these little acts are so telling. They don't just show his interest, they actually grow his interest. Now, this can show up in very subtle ways. He'll offer to carry something heavy for you, or he'll text you to make sure you got home safely. He'll ask follow-up questions about things you mentioned before. Like if you told him you had a doctor's appointment, he'll check in and ask how it went. These aren't grand gestures of romance, but they're powerful psychological cues because they reveal a man who is actively investing energy in your well-being. I'll give you an example. A woman once told me about a guy she wasn't sure about. He wasn't overly flirty. He wasn't making bold declarations, but he kept showing up in these tiny ways. If her car broke down, he offered to pick her up. When she mentioned a project she was working on, he'd text her on the deadline day just to ask how it went. She said at first she didn't think much of it, but over time, she realized these weren't random acts. They were part of a consistent pattern. He was investing in her, not with money or gifts, but with something far more valuable, his attention and energy. Now, let's contrast this with men who aren't really serious. A man who's just casually interested may show you attention in bursts when it's convenient, when he's bored, when he's lonely. But a man who's truly crazy about you will create reasons to connect. He won't wait for convenience. He'll go out of his way, even if it's just in tiny increments. That's the difference between a man who's killing time and a man who's investing time. And here's something interesting sometimes. These micro investments come disguised as jokes or playful teasing. He'll offer to fix something for you, even if you don't need it. He'll send you an article he thinks you'll like. On the surface, it seems casual, but underneath, it's his way of weaving himself into your world. Psychologically, he's saying, I want to be relevant in your life. I want to add value. So the next time you're unsure of how a man feels, ask yourself, does he make micro investments in me? Does he remember the small things I say, follow up, check in, or find ways to be useful? If the answer is yes, then you're not dealing with someone who's just curious. You're dealing with someone who's captivated, who can't help but contribute, who is slowly but surely giving parts of himself away. And here's the beautiful irony: the more he invests, the deeper he falls. Not just because he likes you, but because on a psychological level, he starts to tie his happiness and effort to you. That's when you know it's not just attraction, it's something much bigger. Another sign that a man is crazy about you shows up in the way he subtly changes his behavior when you're around. He may not even be aware of it, but his body language, his tone, even the words he chooses, they all shift when you walk into the room. It's almost as if his subconscious says, she's here, better bring my A game. Now, you've probably noticed this at some point. Maybe a man who's usually quiet suddenly becomes more talkative when you're nearby, or a guy who's normally a little clumsy with his words suddenly starts paying more attention to how he phrases things, almost as if he's auditioning for your approval. That's not random, it's psychology. When men feel drawn to someone, they engage in what's called impression management. It's the mind's natural way of saying, I want to be seen in the best light possible. One of the most obvious shifts happens in his posture. Around other people, he may slouch, lean back, look relaxed. But the moment you step into his field of vision, suddenly his shoulders pull back, he sits taller, and his chest opens up. This isn't conscious, it's an ancient biological response rooted in courtship behavior. Subconsciously, he's signaling strength, confidence, and presence, even if he has no idea he's doing it. And then there's mirroring. If you cross your legs, he might cross his. If you laugh, he laughs just a little louder or longer. If you lean forward while talking, watch carefully. His body will often follow yours. Why? Because when people are deeply attracted to someone, naturally start sensing up with them. Psychologists call this nonverbal mimicry, and it's one of the clearest signs of emotional connection. But it's not just body language. Listen to his words. A man who's crazy about you will adjust the way he speaks. If he knows you like deep conversations, suddenly he'll want to dive into more meaningful topics. If you're playful and witty, his sense of humor seems to sharpen when he's talking to you. It's like he unconsciously adapts to match your energy. Not because he's faking it, but because he wants to align himself with the rhythm of your world. I remember one woman telling me she noticed her coworker, who she thought of as reserved and serious, suddenly becoming lively when she was around. She said, "It's like he saves all his jokes for me." That's a classic example. When a man wants to impress you, he will put effort into creating a version of himself that he hopes feels magnetic in your presence. He's not pretending to be someone else. He's simply dialing up the parts of himself he thinks will matter most to you. And here's something really telling. Sometimes these changes come with nervous energy. You might notice him fidgeting a little, stumbling over words, or even laughing at himself when he makes a mistake. These aren't signs of disinterest, quite the opposite. They're signs that he cares deeply about how you perceive him. If he didn't, he wouldn't care whether he looked a little silly. But because he's crazy about you, every interaction feels high stakes to him. Now, contrast this with a man who doesn't feel much. He'll be consistent, unaffected. His posture won't shift, his tone won't warm, his attention won't sharpen. He'll treat you like everyone else. But when a man is truly interested, his whole demeanor upgrades the moment you're around. Even if he's tired, even if he had a rough day, something about your presence energizes him, and you can see it in how he carries himself. So here's the takeaway watch for those small adjustments. Does he light up a little when you enter the room? Does his voice soften, his attention sharpen, his posture straighten? Does he mirror you without even realizing it? Those aren't just coincidences. Those are unconscious signals that his psychology has shifted into press and connect mode. And that only happens when someone matters. When a man is crazy about you, he can't keep his mind from trying to win you over. His actions give him away, even if his words don't. And the beauty of this is, once you see it, you'll never again have to wonder whether you're special to him, because the way he transforms in your presence is all the proof you need. One of the clearest giveaways that a man is crazy about you is how protective he becomes, sometimes without even realizing it. Now, I don't just mean the obvious walking you to your car, kind of protective, though that can happen too. I'm talking about the small, almost invisible moments where his instinct to look out for you comes alive. It's wired into male psychology. For thousands of years, men were programmed to provide and protect. The people they valued most were the ones they instinctively guarded. And even in today's modern world, that protective instinct doesn't disappear. It just shows up in new ways. When a man is captivated by you, he'll start scanning for little ways to make sure you feel safe, comfortable, and cared for. Sometimes it's as subtle as walking on the street side of the sidewalk. You may not notice it at first. He just casually switches positions so you're away from the traffic. Or when you're in a crowded place, he might guide you with his hand lightly on your back, not as a power move, but as an unconscious, I've got you. If you're cold, suddenly his jacket is around your shoulders before you even ask. These aren't rehearsed gestures, they're natural reflexes born out of genuine care. And then there's emotional protection. If someone dismisses you, teases you too harshly, or tries to talk over you, pay attention to his reaction. A man who's crazy about you won't stay silent. He might step in and back you up, or at the very least, his body language will shift, leaning toward you, showing support, giving you a reassuring glance that says, I'm with you. He's not just protecting your physical space, but your dignity too. One woman once told me about a guy she was seeing. They were out with friends and someone made a joke at her expense. It wasn't meant to be cruel, but she felt a little embarrassed. Before she could even respond, he jumped in, laughed it off, and redirected the conversation in a way that lifted her up instead of leaving her exposed. She said in that moment, she didn't just feel liked, she felt valued. That's the power of a man's protective instinct when he truly cares. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Not all protective gestures are loud or obvious. Sometimes they come across as simple questions. Did you eat yet? Text me when you get home. Do you want me to check that for you? They may sound casual, but they carry weight. Why? Because they reveal that your well-being has become a priority in his mind, and priorities don't lie. Compare this with a man who isn't that invested. He might enjoy your company, he might flirt, but he won't go out of his way to look out for you. If you're stressed, he won't notice. If you're uncomfortable, he won't adjust. His energy will stay focused on himself. But when a man is crazy about you, suddenly your comfort becomes his responsibility, even if he never says it out loud. And here's something beautiful. These protective gestures don't come from a place of control, but from care. There's a big difference. A controlling man tries to limit your freedom. A man who's genuinely crazy about you enhances it. He makes you feel freer because you know he has your back. That's what makes it so magnetic. So if you've ever wondered whether a guy's feelings run deep, watch how he shows up in these small protective ways. Does he anticipate your needs before you even voice them? Does he step in when you feel out of place? Does he adjust his behavior to make sure you're comfortable? Those aren't surface level moves. Those are the instincts of a man whose heart has already chosen you. And the most fascinating part, he often doesn't even realize he's doing it. That's how you know it's real. Because when a man is crazy about you, protection isn't a strategy, it's an instinct. When a man is truly crazy about you, one of the most undeniable psychological shifts you'll notice is his vulnerability. Now, this might sound surprising because most men are taught to keep their guard up, to stay strong, to never reveal too much. But when he's genuinely invested in you, he starts to let those walls down. And that, more than anything else, shows how deep his feelings run. Think about it. Men are usually careful about what they share. They'll talk about work, sports, hobbies, but their fears, their insecurities, their big dreams, those usually stay locked up. Yet when a man is captivated by you, he can't help but open little windows into his inner world. It might start small. He'll tell you about a stressful day in more detail than he would anyone else, or he'll admit he was nervous before an important meeting. Eventually, those small cracks lead to bigger confessions, childhood stories, past heartbreaks, the hopes he hasn't told anyone because he's afraid they'll sound silly. This vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of trust. Psychologists call it emotional risk-taking. And the truth is, men don't take those risks with just anyone. If he's revealing his softer side, it's because he feels safe with you. And safety is the cornerstone of genuine attraction. And here's the fascinating part. Vulnerability often shows up not just in what he says, but in how he behaves. You'll notice he asks for your opinion on things that matter to him. He'll share decisions he's facing, not because he can't make them alone, but because he values how you see the world. He may even show you the unpolished parts of his life, the messy apartment, the silly side he usually hides, the awkward jokes he's not sure will land. All of this is his way of saying, I want you to see the real me, not the version I show everyone else, the real me. Now, here's the difference between a man who's casually interested and one who's all in. The casual guy keeps things surface level. The serious guy digs deeper, even when it feels uncomfortable, because in his mind, being real with you is worth the risk of being judged. That's how you know his attraction isn't just about charm or chemistry. It's about genuine connection. And let me tell you, when you see a man open up this way, it's one of the most powerful signs of love. Because for men, vulnerability is not natural, it's chosen. He chooses to trust you, to let you in, to show you the parts of himself that he normally keeps hidden. That choice is the biggest declaration of all, even if he never says the words outright. So here's what I want you to remember when a man is crazy about you. He doesn't just try to impress you. He invests in you, he notices you, he protects you, and eventually he lets you see him as he truly is. That's the ultimate trick of the heart, not because he's trying to play games, but because he can't help himself. His psychology, his instincts, his emotions all point in one direction, toward you. And now here's my challenge for you. Start looking for these signs in your own life. Stop relying only on what a man says and start paying attention to how he shows up. Look at the details, his focus, his micro investments, his body language, his protective instinct, and most importantly, his vulnerability. If you see these patterns consistently, you can be confident you're not just another option in his life. You're the priority. If this resonates with you, here's what I want you to do. Don't just keep this to yourself. Share it with another woman who might need to hear it. Maybe she's doubting her relationship. Maybe she's questioning a guy's feelings. Maybe she just needs a little clarity. This could give her the perspective she's been searching for. And if you want more insights like this, if you want to decode men, understand relationships better, and know exactly how to attract and keep the love you deserve, make sure you stick around, because this is just the beginning. Because here's the truth, love isn't about guessing games. It's about clarity. And once you know what to look for, you'll never again have to wonder if a man is crazy about you. You'll know.